We're on the air! It's TimmyTechTV live with horrible camera Mike over there,
Hey guys.
who's sick as well as I am.
Yeah, I apologize if you can't understand me during this episode.
Yes, so we'll be very sniffly and trying not to cough into the camera a whole bunch. So obviously we're back for the, I don't know, fourth episode. I don't actually keep count because I can't believe I actually left this time. So let us know, guys, if you want to send questions. I actually found out last week I talked about how I couldn't figure out why Q&A wasn't showing up for me. It's actually because to get views to show up in YouTube, I have to start the live event from YouTube. But if I start and schedule a live event from YouTube, I can't use the Google Plus Q&A thing. Thanks, Google. So hit us up on Twitter at TimmyTechTV, and at Mike the Tech, right? Is that still
Yes.
there? And we'll answer whatever questions show up there. Make sure you tag both of us because then we can both see them. And I guess if I'm gonna say that, I should actually open Twitter. Woo! Okay, so first topic: Windows, Windows, Windows. XP is dead, and so is IE 6, 7, 8, a million other things.
About time.
Yeah, about time. So obviously, you guys know I work for Microsoft, and when I'm not doing my side thing here, uh, to be completely honest with you, XP has been dead for like 8 years. I mean, I haven't used XP since Vista because even though Vista got a really bum rap, Vista still, if you had a newer machine that had driver support, and God forbid you owned a printer that was more than a year old, um, Vista always worked fine for me. So I always ran Vista at home. XP was kind of, up until Vista, I guess SP1, and then I started running that. But so, yay, it's dead, which means less work for me at work. But what do you think about that, Mike?
Well, it's dead in the consumer market, and the business market is still very much alive. I mean, I still support Windows XP machines at places that I've done work for, and it's hard to convince people to switch over, you know?
Yeah, I think people just need to get with the times.
Yeah.
So, Mike was being funny and sent me a link that I didn't realize was trolling me until it was too late. But what I will bring up here is what I think is the funny escape from XP. So I played this game a little bit. It's really hysterical. So it's Microsoft takes aim at itself in a savvy satire of a web game.
It's actually a game. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, no, it's really a game, and it's really quite funny.
Nice.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Escape from LA or Escape from New York, and it's the graphics on it are hideous, but it's still kind of funny. So if you guys want to send off Windows XP by blowing it up, there you go.
Very nice.
It's gonna take me right into our. Let's see if this actually works. Oh,
Wait, that means you're not going to make a video on how to make Windows 8.1 look just like XP for nostalgia's sake?
hell no. I never liked what XP looked like, and I worked on all three versions of it. Um, Prepare your PC or tablet for Windows 8.1 Update 1. I wonder why I have this on here, Mike.
Because you're trolling me and trying to force me to admit that it was a user error.
So why don't you tell us of your fwabbles?
Okay, so I decided that as a tech, I'd like to try Windows 8.1 Update 1 or 8.1.1 a little early so that I get a feel for it and know what kind of quirks you can expect. And unfortunately, I found a few because it's not ready yet, and I've had a lot of trouble with drivers ever since.
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't realize, um, from what I had seen, there aren't a lot of, there weren't a lot of like driver changes and stuff like that coming in with this. So it's kind of interesting. There must have been, I don't know how many of you guys, kind of know the inner workings ish of like drivers and things, but every OS has, you know, a version number. And they must have done something interesting to the version number, because normally when, you know, even service packs come out, the version numbers don't change enough that usually that they cause drivers to have issues. Um, so it'll be interesting. My personal opinion is, unless you have a good reason to upgrade right away, you should always have wait for other people to upgrade and then watch YouTube to see when you should or not. The other thing I was hearing was some people were getting pushed the update and not having a chance to, you know, say whether they wanted it or not. I am actually looking into that. I don't know what I'll find out, and I don't know if I'll be able to say anything about it. But I've definitely sent feedback to people I know on in the Windows team about it. The first thing I would say, guys, is always go turn off automatic updates. The first thing as a system admin that I do. I'll let it download, but you know, in an enterprise situation, you want to dictate when your machines are going to reboot. So I take that same approach at home. I do not let Windows update or Windows or anybody else tell me when I'm going to reboot my machine. That's my decision, not their decision. So you should always, always, always turn off automatic updates as long as you're responsible enough to do it yourself. If you're not responsible enough to do it yourself, for God's sakes, leave it on. So what do you do? Do you leave it on?
I on most computers I'll turn it off just because there have been some issues that I've come across. But lately, since I've gotten all new machines and it's all new hardware, I'm kind of excited about it. I just want everything right away. And now I'm realizing why I shouldn't have changed that decision.
Oh, my mic is very low,
Yeah, I
apparently.
just saw that.
Oh, turned way down. Holy crap. There, is it better now?
Yep.
Kelly, tell me, Kelly. Come on. Chop, chop. Chop, 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 chop.
I'll turn mine down a bit. There we go.
That's funny. Like, support.logitech.com is what somebody sent to tell you. So we'll tell my little. Come on, somebody tell me. My volume is really low and mic is really loud. Come on, chop, chop. Let me know. I didn't even realize that. See, I ask Mike when we start these
It
podcasts.
sounded fine, but I'm on headphones, so maybe it was just.
Does it sound okay? I don't know. He said it sounded okay, so I blame him. Now I can actually hear myself in my headset, so that's probably better. Yes, yes, everybody that just is trolling me now with the volume question. I guess they're also behind too, which is always funny.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So I'm going to put this up here. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to show my Twitter feed. Maybe. Maybe. Oh, we're still on mic. There we go. Okay. So I have, it's not over here. I have a Harmony 900 remote. It is the biggest piece of shit I have ever owned. Like, seriously, if you search the forums on it, it seems like whoever manufactured that board just did a shitty job. Everybody has the same problems. They brick, they freeze. It looks like it's a circuit board, like a soldering failure. So I've been kind of like poking at Logitech today, which, funny enough, Mike's camera is Logitech. And I've been poking at them like, hey, what the hell do I have to do to get like it replaced? So I finally like find this Todd Walker guy and tweet him. And like, seriously, like, I don't know to go to support.logitech.com. I was there. What I love is like customer phone support, which is like ridiculous hours, or you know, like email support. Like, I haven't done that a million times. You know, the first thing they're like, well, you know, is it under warranty still? It's like, I don't know. I've owned the thing for like 4 years. Probably not. But you should still stand behind a frickin' $300 product where it's been proven that all of these uh, all of these remotes have died in the exact same way, which, you know, frankly, I would expect better out of Logitech. And it's the only Logitech product I own, and I will probably never buy another one. I was actually going to buy one of the C920 webcams, and like after dealing with this remote, the hell with it. I don't like. I'd sooner use a two tin cans and a string than give Logitech any money. Because like, have you heard anything back? I mean, you sent in something like a week ago, right?
I sent something 12 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 days ago, I told them the software won't run. It won't even install, says it's the wrong version, and it's going to be 5 frames a second. I tried this, I tried that. I gave them a full breakdown of what I tried. Their response, which was like 3 days later, was, have you tried installing the software? Here's how to do it and where to download it from. So that doesn't help me because I've already tried that. And I contact support on Twitter. They say they'll be with you in 2 days. They did. Tell them again, be with you in 2 days. They didn't. And today I do it again, and they say, well, let us know if they haven't messaged you by Tuesday. So, I mean, just they're not really trying.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to lay into them too much, but I
The
have
camera's
never.
great.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the thing too. Like, they make great keyboards and mice, but anytime I've ever seen anybody have to deal with a problem with the product, or God forbid, problems with drivers or software, you're screwed. I mean, like, it's almost like they just don't care. It's like, haha, you bought our thing, now suck it. I mean,
Right.
that's how I feel. Like, I feel betrayed by them because I spent like over $300 on this remote. It's not a trivial, cheap universal remote. It's one that you can stick the IR blasters inside of a closed cabinet, and then it's Wi-Fi. So it's not a cheap device, and it's also one of the only devices that they've discontinued from the Harmony line. So, when the Harmony 1 is still around and the 900 isn't, and the 900 was newer than the Harmony 1,
Yeah, that says something.
right? So, Logitech, get your shit together. And granted, I can freely say this because they've never sent me anything. Now probably never will.
Right.
But hey, if you want to replace my 900 with a newer remote and want me to review it, at TimmyTechTV, let me know. So on to the next thing, now that I've berated Logitech for long enough. Amazon buys Crimaxology, however the hell you say that. So this is your article. Yeah, this is your article, so...
Okay, so I just thought this was something kind of cool. Amazon, huge, they have Kindle and everything with books, and just, I'd say the biggest book retailer. Bought the business Comixology, which is the leading retailer of comic books online. And I think it's a really interesting deal in that we may start seeing more mainstream comics coming to Kindles and such in the future.
Yeah, I mean, see, for me, this is I have a Kindle Paperwhite, so it's like,
Yeah, I
not in
guess.
color. How many people own a Kindle where this is going to make any kind of a difference? Fires aren't that popular. So maybe if you have like an Apple or something where you have Amazon e-reader on there, but I don't know. I don't buy stuff for those devices, so it'll be interesting to see how this works out. We'll go from that to my Amazon article, which is Fire TV. Yay, yay, yay. So Fire TV released this week, and the thing I love the most here is sellout must mean we're on fire. So Amazon is singing, their own praises from the rooftops about, well, Amazon Fire, it's sold out, so it must be awesome. Yeah, except they won't tell you how many they produced. So I could produce 10 of something and sell out. I mean, so if they only produced like, 100,000 of them or 50,000 of them and sold out.
It's expected.
So I actually bought one of these to try it out. The rest of the review video will be coming up soon. But my kind of consensus is there's nothing about the Fire TV that says buy it. Um, the remote to play the Android games is clunky. It's very cheap. The buttons are very cheap. Um, the games are just Android games. I mean, buy a Nexus 7 and get one of those, wireless remote controls for it and play on that. You don't need, to play it on a TV. It does come with a cool game called like Sub-Zero or something, which is the biggest ripoff of Halo that I've ever seen. It's fun, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still playing it, actually. But it is like, hey, look, you're a guy in an encounter suit and you're fighting aliens, but it's kind of like tower defense. But it's still like, man, you couldn't have much more of a blatant ripoff of Halo without the Master Chief. So, and you have these like way gates and things, so it looks like Halo, it plays like Halo. It's just kind of ridiculous, but it's a fun game. All that said, the thing that drives me nuts about it is I'm a Prime subscriber, and I, for the life of me, cannot get it to let me watch Prime for free. So like, I'm logged in, and I go to my computer, and I can go to like prime.amazon.com and like watch Prime video from my computer. I go to the Amazon Fire TV and go to a Prime thing, and it's like, you must have an Amazon Prime account to watch this. And I'm like, I do. And so you say okay, and then you click continue. And then it puts you back at, would you like to purchase this program? So I don't know if it's a bug or there's something really weird going on. But when you watch the video, it'll be coming out tomorrow night. My consensus is do not buy an Amazon Fire TV because you can buy a DVD player for $69, $79 that'll play Blu-ray DVDs and have all the streaming apps. And big deal, you don't have Android games on your TV. But buy a frickin' tablet and get a mini HDMI to HDMI and plug it into your TV. Same difference. So,
well, I mean, you have to also look at it like you're saying, get a tablet or an Nexus 7, but those have hefty price tags. We're talking about some pretty good hardware for a $99 price tag, and albeit a cheap remote, but you're still getting a full, essentially Android piece of hardware that you can install programs like Plex on and things like that.
Well, so you can actually install Plex on it. You can't. The the gaming remote is $40, so it's $140 if you want the wireless gaming remote. And like I said, if you're buying an Amazon Fire TV just to play Android games, you may want to reevaluate what you're spending money on. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, so did you say you can or can't install Plex?
It does not support Plex right now.
I thought that was one of their major pushes.
No, it's not there.
Huh.
So it may be there eventually, but right now it is not there. At least on mine.
Aside from them completely
Plex is not
stealing the interface.
Yes. So my personal opinion is buy a Roku.
Right.
Like, don't waste your money with the Fire. So it is a neat little box, but like I said, what they've proven yet again is they can build neat hardware, and their integration is just kind of junk. I mean, I don't know how many people, like, I've played with a Kindle Fire a ton, and when I bought my Paperwhite, I was seriously considering getting a Kindle Fire until you realize, like, the integration and the menus are just garbage. I mean, people might like them, but I definitely do not. So
how was was there lag on the user interface or anything like that?
no, it's actually really good.
Yeah.
The cheap little remote that comes with it is really good. It's wireless, Bluetooth. So like I said, the hardware is great. If I could put Ubuntu with XBMC and Plex on there, I'd be sold. But And that's actually the Chrome box from Asus just came out as well. But it's $180, but it's Chrome OS.
Right.
So the question is, since you can put Ubuntu on a Chrome tablet or a Chrome book, can you put it on the Chrome whatever the box, right? So that'll be an interesting thing to see. Sorry. See, I have Twitter open. Now I'm reading Twitter. Okay, on to the next thing. Enough ranting. This is like, people are just going to tell me I'm turning into Logan. It's like the Rant 30 version of the live stream. It's like, I don't like anything this week. Hang on. Let me tell you right now. I don't know if I've just had a bad week, but I did not review anything this week that I liked. So just a hint. All the next few videos coming out are me like, don't buy it. So anyways, let's get back to Google releases first developed resources for Project Ara. That's you, buddy.
All right, so I think this is really awesome. I remember seeing the original video. I believe it was called like phone blocks or something, and I thought this was just a really. I almost tried to scroll on your screen right now. I'm sorry. This is one of these like just really cool products that everybody wanted to be real, but no one really thought it would because it's just kind of so out there. And knowing that Google's already releasing essentially white papers for it and showing how the modules will work, I think that's just something really cool. You're currently broadcasting your Twitter right now.
Oh, yeah. That's not what's on the screen, though. You're on the screen.
Okay. So yeah, I just think it's a really cool project that they're actually putting some money into, but I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm that excited about it, but I don't know. I mean, I remember seeing the original, blocks idea,
Right.
and I don't know. I'm still of the opinion. I know everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I'll just, my iPhone works. It does everything I want it to do. I just want it to be able to like read Twitter and email and make phone calls. Not very picky about my phone. Which of course this week, like, yay Google, but more yay Apple, because a 5.5-inch iPhone is apparently heading our way. So 4.7 and a 5.5, which it's about frickin' time. So we'll see if iOS 8 is any good, but that'll be what it's gonna be. So go ahead.
Oh, honestly, I'm actually kind of the opposite in terms of the phone. I love the customization options that it would offer, and I like the idea of like if it's getting a little slow, you can purchase like a new processor for it instead of an entire new phone. It's a lot better for frugal buyers like myself.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if like wireless companies actually allow that. However, that's my current opinion. So on to Staples wants to be the king of 3D printing.
This is awesome.
This is so. I think, and I have to go find it, but here we can all watch this together.
Web browsing with TimmyTechTV.
That's right. Kickstarter.com. See if I can find this. It's been like on the top. There it is, right there. So this is why I think that Staples is just going to get blown out of the water before they ever even start, which is there will now be a $300, granted it's a 4-inch by 8-inch print plate, but it's $300.
Right.
And in that's cheaper than some printers right now, right? I think in the next 5 years you're going to see 12-inch by 12-inch 3D printers with awesome software packages for under $250. Because if they can make this print head, I mean the reality here, guys, realize if they can make this small one, making a bigger one, all of the parts, the only cost is actually making the shell bigger and extending the guides. So the print head and everything can be the same technology. So, and I also don't think, I have a 3D printer. PLA and PHA is great for home printing, but it's not good enough if I'm going to go to like Kinko's and have something printed out. It's got to be, I want metal 3D printing if I'm going to go somewhere and pay.
Which could be coming.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't think you're going to see, Staples doing it. I think you're going to see metal manufacturers doing it, but
Yeah, I think it's actually really cool because just like like Kinko's originally took off before printers were so mainstream, um, people went to just make copies of stuff. And for a hobbyist who just makes, a couple of neat things here and there, it might not be worth buying a $200-300 printer. It might be kind of nice just to go spend $10-15 on a model that he wants for himself, or he wants as a prototype for something, or even a short run, and just say, I want to build 10 of these and sell them and see how it does before I make an investment myself. I think that's where it's going to go into, not really for us who would really use a 3D printer, but more for those who just want a couple things here and there.
Yeah, I mean, so this would be my opinion of this, is that if you're going to go buy something that's like a model that's maybe like, out of ThinkGeek or something, right? They're not going to be able to print them in sufficient quantities. You're going to have a replicator. So you're going to have the 3D printer and a replicator that can make multiple parts at once out of that 3D printed negative. So I don't think it's going to be profitable. I think they're going to definitely lose money on it because, frankly, if I'm designing something myself, if I'm taking that amount of time to 3D design parts for myself, I'm just going to buy a 3D printer because you're going to design something, you're going to want to print it out, and then the first thing you do when you're done printing something is like, I missed something, and you go edit the 3D, model and reprint another one. I don't want to have to like, I went down to Staples and got my model and took it home and like test fitted it and realized that I'm screwed and I have to make another. For prototyping, I think people will always own their own. So.
What about like open source models? Like, for example, if someone makes a phone holder or a camera holder and just makes it available online, everyone can just go print their own. What's the marketplace when that comes out?
Well, but you can go to a million online websites and send them a 3D model and get stuff printed cheaper than you're going to get it at Kinko's.
I suppose, yeah.
Right? I mean, I think, I just think that anybody that, does prototyping or stuff will just always own their own.
Well, excuse me for thinking that this is cool.
Oh, it's interesting. So what I will say is it's interesting. Now, where it would be interesting is if they had high resolution 3D printers, right? So if you went to Kinko's and they had a $20,000
Staples
3D printer or Staples. See, well, it says Kinko's. I just keep going with that. If Staples has a $20,000 like tenth of a micron 3D printer that's fast, right? Then you might be talking something, but I don't think they're going to spend that kind of money because the return on investment would take forever.
Right.
So if they're just buying like maker bots, I don't think they're going to succeed because 1 micron prints will take hours and hours and hours on those machines. So now you're going to have to be printing in low resolution. And, if it takes like that Yoda model you see everybody print, if you print it at 1 micron, it takes like 8 hours. So, and it fails a lot, right? 3D printing is not even remotely reliable, which is also the reason to have your own, because when it fails, you just start over. So I don't know. I mean, there's lots of places. So the company I use to buy my filament. Hang on one sec. See, this is yet again web surfing with Timmy. I'm like, have I been searching porn on this computer? I don't know. No. Okay, good. I don't watch porn. Who would do such a thing?
It's horrible.
I know. Okay, so Printed Solid. This is where I get all my color fab stuff from. They have So the first thing they are is a um, kind of a premium filament outlet. So they have PLA, PHA, they have this nylon and T-glaze stuff. They have wood filament. Basically, it's all imported stuff, really high quality stuff. But what they also do is they are a 3D printing business. So if you go to like their shop, you can go, oh, where did I found it? Oh, services, there we go. So if you go to services, they can do metal casting. They can do silicon molding, which is the kind of thing that I was talking about, which is like you 3D print something and then you silicon mold it, and then you have a replicating machine that uses the silicon mold to make a whole bunch more of them. Because you can make a whole bunch of silicon molds. They do 3D scanning. They do custom CAD design, but they also do 3D printing. So you can send them your 3D model, and they have a base at the 100 micron resolution, which is pretty much what everybody prints at. But notice, see, 200 micron is 37 cents, and 100 micron is 75 cents. So, they go down to 50 micron on their stuff. That's pretty good. That's actually really good resolution. 50 micron is really good resolution. So, there's already companies out here doing this.
Yeah.
And, they're specialists in it. So it's kind of that, do you go to, the Geek Squad and have them 3D print something for you? I mean, maybe someday, but I don't know that that's in the near future. However, the more people that buy 3D printers, even if it's just staples, the better off we are, because it means that it'll get more traction. So
Right.
I'm all for everybody trying to support 3D printing. I just don't know that it's the best business model. So
That's fair enough.
you need to buy a 3D printer.
Someday.
So Heartbleed. Haha. Heartbleed. So if you don't know about Heartbleed by now, you've all been under a rock somewhere. It's definitely, so this is going to go into my I'll talk about it in the Android fragmentation section here, but why you shouldn't use open source, because anybody can make changes because it's open source. So it doesn't have to be federated for OpenSSL, but this is here because a dev made a mistake. And it was one guy with no code reviews, and yeah. So if you're using OpenSSL 1.01, you're screwed. I think if you're on anything else, you're okay. But this Heartbleed virus basically exploits a web security flaw in OpenSSL 1.01. It's a change that's been there for over 2 years that a German developer made. And it's definitely, like, here's a German programmer. I did a bunch of research into the change he made and what they were trying to do. It's definitely just a mistake. It's definitely just a bug. It's not, it's not something that it looks like it was maliciously put in. It just looks like something that he didn't think to check. So, and that can easily happen. However, the funny thing about this article is they're like, oh my god, the world is ending, everything's exploited, and it's like, no, it's just one version. It's one fork of the OpenSSL tree. So luckily that hadn't been the primary fork yet, but it was heading that way because it has a bunch of features that people wanted. And the big news is Cisco and Juniper both use that version of OpenSSL on some of their switches. So yay! It was bad enough that they could exploit your server and dump, the memory 64 bits at a time. But they can actually exploit your switch and watch all of your traffic 64 bits at a time. So that's also, kind of yikes. I don't know if you heard much about this. You're at a school.
Yeah, but I mean, that is like a lot of work for a hacker to go through to try and get information and recompile it from 64-bit pieces of memory. And, this has been out for 2 years, and I understand that they just discovered it, but is this something that is really going to take off before the time it takes places to patch it up. I mean, I know my host, for example, which is just a shared host, they've already patched it. So, I mean, is this something that we should really worry about, or just change our passwords after the patch?
Aha! That brings us expertly to the NSA has exploited Heartbleed for 2 years. So
They exploit everything, even without.
yeah, but if you have a fast enough supercomputer, even if you're just grabbing stuff 64-bit at a time,
Right.
you can put it together just as fast as the server can read it into memory. So, of course, you saw this. What I thought was funny is, the tech and I and a bunch of people were talking about this last week before any articles came out, and we're like, come on, they had to have known. Like they they have some of the best hackers in the world working for the NSA. So, if somebody found this now, the NSA found it before the general public did, and of course they're not going to say crap about it. Um, so like a bunch of us, tinfoil hat channels were talking last week, and sure enough, here it is. They basically have confirmed that. It says here like hunting for flaws. This is one thing they do. And I will say, if this is actually, in my opinion, more legally correct than just like hacking your email and stuff. So if they're exploiting bugs in software you're using, what are the legal ramifications? It's a lot better than them just like freely wiretapping my email. At least, I mean,
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
that's a feature. Well, there has been, lots of things said about, people putting flaws in being paid for it.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. This was one of those like, of course, they once they found it, they exploited it, and this like yesterday, it was like this just erupted, like all of a sudden, like all the everybody's like, oh my god, I can't believe it, they're going, it's they're exploiting us another way.
Even though they've been using exploits for years.
Yeah, I mean, come on, duh. Like if you don't think, and if you think that the NSA is the only people that were doing it, yeah, right. How much data does China have now? How much data does Russia have now? The NSA isn't the only people that knew about this and were exploiting it. So that just goes to show, and I will say this a million times over and over and over again, and I've said it since 1997. Anything you do on the internet, anything, is public domain. You will never be able to completely secure what you do. So if you're doing something on the internet that you're embarrassed about, that you don't want people to know about, that you may be illegally doing, don't do it on the internet. Just don't be stupid. Because trust me, they're going to find out. There is nobody that can completely secure any piece of software. It would cost trillions of dollars. So there's always going to be ways to get into stuff, to look at stuff. There's always going to be hackers that are a step ahead of everybody else. So don't do it. Got any good hackers at your school?
I need to go clear my search history real quick. Not like in terms of what?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I mean, I work at an elementary school, so I don't get too much in terms of security breaches, aside from students figuring out how to change the panel orientation on monitors. But, aside from that, it's pretty secure.
No hackers at the, like the fifth graders are causing mayhem.
Not quite. They're more interested in Instagram and Twitter than anything else.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's what was I watching? Oh, I was watching, there's this this YouTube series, and I forget the name of the channel, but they do like, what teens think about, and then it was like Nirvana.
Right.
And they were asking them band names, and I grew up in the Pacific Northwest to start with, so I was, I saw Pearl Jam before they were big. I saw Nirvana in like their third concert in Seattle. And of course we had no idea who they were. I was like, 15. But they, they're asking like, do you know who Pearl Jam is? No. Do you know who, like Screaming Trees is? Who, like, one of my buddies was actually the bass player for Screaming Trees. So, and like we know Mark Lanahan and Alice in Chains is a local band, and Stone Temple Pilots, and the Mud Honeys from just up the road, and like none of these kids knew who they were. It was just like, oh, you poor children. But what they were all like, they were playing the Nirvana songs, and all the kids were like, "Man, this is so much better than the crap we listened to today."
Yeah, my brother-in-law, he's just started. He's in high school now, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, have you heard of this band named Poison?" I was like, "Well," he told my fiance, and she was like, "We've seen them in concert. There's like an old band." And just like at my school, like I'll ask them once in a while what they think of technologies, just to see kind of where the trends are going, because I find it interesting. And I'll be like, "So, like, how many of you are on Facebook?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, people still use Facebook?"
Yeah,
It's like so interesting. Like,
yeah, the kids are so off Facebook.
yeah, it's just the trends change so quickly, and it's interesting to see.
Well, I mean, okay. Now, when my mother signed up for Facebook, it was time to move. I mean, once it gets popular enough that adults are using it, like older adults, because I'm still I am the very end of Gen X, the very beginning of Gen Y.
Right,
So,
we had nothing to do with it.
well, no, but I'm saying, like kids that are in high school today, like I'm still only a generation away from them, right?
Right.
So, but like my parents versus kids in high school today are like 3 generations away. So, you look at that and it's like, okay, once their parents or their grandparents are on Facebook, do you really think that they want to be posting everything on Facebook? And if they are, they're really stupid.
It
So,
reminds me of the Onion story,
which one's that?
where everyone was flocking to the comment section of a single YouTube video of goats running or something, and that was their new social network.
I'm not surprised. So let's see. Let's do some questions here. Leave the camera on you. We'll ask you a question. Oh, remember, guys, if you want to send questions, at TimmyTechTV, at Mike the Tech, put them both on there. Have I ever attended a LAN party? You can answer this one too. Have I ever attended a LAN party, and do you recommend doing anything? Wait, hang on. Grammar not so good. I have no idea. So, have you ever attended a LAN party? We'll start with that, and then the rest of the question is not so grammar friendly.
Fair enough. Well, you asking me or?
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. I used to have LAN parties in my high school days. Not necessarily anymore. Everything's more online now, but Halo, Command and Conquer games, things like that.
Yeah, we actually I used to own Magic the Gathering / Mech Warrior
Nice.
shop, and we had 8 computers. Then this was, like pre-internet. We had dial-up, but this was before like people had fast enough speeds to be able to like game online. So we had 8 computers, and Diablo 2. Let's see what else. The original StarCraft, and Half-Life Counter-Strike, the original one.
Nice.
Were pretty much all ever anybody played, and we would just play 4-on-4, and we rented out the computers and stuff, but at night when the shop was closed, we would just every night.
Oh no, we weren't lucky for that. We were lugging CRT monitors to each other's houses and
Yeah.
overloading circuits, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I never did anything like that. We always just kind of set her up and left her in place. I mean, I had a token ring network in my parents' house when I was 17, and we had 4 computers in there. So, I don't know. We used to play Descent like crazy. So 4-person Descent like crazy. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have a LAN party, just get a good hub, and have fun. Power is important. Make sure you know which circuits are which in your house.
Make sure everything's compliant. No daisy chaining power strips.
Or else keep a flashlight nearby.
And possibly a fire extinguisher.
Yes, you will trip your circuit breaker. Here we go. What happened to the start button that was supposed to come in with the Windows 8.1 update? It was actually never supposed to come with the 8.1.1 update. It will be out later on. I don't know what the exact date is, but it actually was never a feature of the 8.1.1 update. So it will come as its own standalone thing at some point in time. The Logitech guy got back to me and said, if you've already contacted support, DM me your case number. Yes, no. I contacted support a year ago. They basically told me to go to hell. So I guess I'll be contacting them again and see what they say now.
Don't worry, it will help.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, when I first contacted them, a few people had reported this, but now it's like everybody with a 900 has reported this pretty much. Sure. And I'm seriously like, my parents, I don't have a toaster oven here. My parents have a toaster oven at their house. I'm going up there tomorrow. I'm seriously thinking about taking it and just like toaster ovening the circuit board to see if because I guarantee you it's cold solder joints. So like reflow it or get out my soldering iron and reflow the solder.
Going very Xbox on it.
Yes, pretty much. Or when LCD panels die, if you want to fix LCD panels, you take the little controller board and because if it's dead and it's out of warranty, what do you have to lose? You want to heat them to about 225, somewhere between 200 and 225, and you want to watch for the flux to flow.
Sure, I don't know that.
Yeah.
And by the way,
lower, of course, because you flow too much. But I don't know if anybody is soldered. A cold solder joint is when you have the wire sticking through, and then you have like the solder ring. So what the two things are going to solder together, right? And you're gonna flux and then solder your solder to the ring and the lead coming through the ring. If you don't heat up the wire and what you're going to attach the wire to the temperature that the solder needs to bond, then it won't bond. Now, some things you cold solder on purpose, or flux or flow solder, and that's because they have a component on it that can't get heated up, or it'll destroy the component. You see that a lot of times in like audio gear. But so flow soldering is they take this board and they have a chemical on all the leads and everything, and they just like flow solder over the whole board, and all the solder sticks where it needs to. But those are much more sensitive electronic components because they're basically a cold solder, and if it flexes or you drop it or it gets any kind of like quick heat up and cool down, it'll break those solder points. And that's actually, like Mike said, the original Xbox, the Red Rings of Death, was actually a cold solder issue where in the manufacturing process they didn't heat some of the parts of the board hot enough when they soldered it, and then because the Xbox got so hot, it basically overheated and caused expansion and contraction of the board, and because the solder joint wasn't solid enough, then you're done. That's why actually military grade components, especially like very high-end military components, all of the solder joints are X-ray scan. So little tidbit for you all there. So have you had any good things die on you?
I was kind of sad that my creative controller just stopped working out of nowhere, but I've been pretty lucky. Aside from an Xbox or two or three, it's been pretty fun.
Let's see what. How did we get into computers and electronics? So I guess you can start.
I've always been in computers. When I was really little, my great grandmother gave me their old laptop, which was really like 5 inches thick and had a green and black screen. It wasn't even black and white back then. It was green and black.
Come on, what's it called?
I honestly don't remember. It had
like test.
Windows 3.1 on it.
It's a monochrome monitor. Come on.
Yeah, I do not remember.
Hang on. All you kids out there, if it had one color in black, it's monochrome.
Yep. And I used to just open Paint, and I had a little book of Pokemon, and I would draw them pixel by pixel. And ever since then, I've just wanted the latest and greatest. I wanted computers and technology.
So, um, I'm lucky that I have parents that had professional jobs. Um, and I didn't grow up rich, but I didn't grow up ever really wanting for anything. And we had, my parents had an Intellivision before I knew what it was. And, I had a Nintendo when I was 6, an NES, because they came out. I guess I was almost turning 7. They came out when I was 6. So I never really, any, cool new technology, if I could show my parents that it, had a use in the house, I didn't really have any problem justifying. When I really got into it, so we had an Apple IIc. We bought when I was 8, 7, 8. We used that for a long time. Mostly just did word processing and played games on it with my dad, because little. And when I really kicked it up was when I was 14, got into high school. Um, 3 of my best friends actually were all doing, like a lot of computer programming and BB bulletin board systems, if anybody remembers what those are. So stuff like that. And I started hanging out with them and watching them do ANSI art, if any of you ever remember ANSI art or ANSI videos. More power to you. And so I started doing that stuff, started really getting into BBSs. And, nicely enough, my parents bought me a 486. And it just kind of went from there. Like I used to tear that thing and put it together, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a month easy. Like it was always in pieces. And then whenever I wanted to do something with it, I would just put it back together. But I was always, like upgrading the network card or upgrading the OS. And I had happened to put, um, I was doing an internship. So over the summers when I was in high school, I actually just went to a computer store, like a local computer store, and said, "Can I work for you for free? Like I just want to like learn stuff, and I'll sit here and I know how to build computers. I'll sit here and troubleshoot things, and then at least like the techs when they come in to work on them, I can have some notes for them, or like installing Windows, or just stuff like that." I was like, I just like I don't want any money, I don't want any software, I don't want any hardware. Like I just want to come in a couple of days a week during the summer and learn. And so I was lucky enough to find a shop. This is when there wasn't Amazon or Newegg or anything like that. I was lucky enough to find a shop that let me, and it was basically an internship. And so I did that for a couple of summers. And by the time I got out of high school, I had NT4 on my home machine and was in college, and college really wasn't for me. Just didn't, I didn't see if I wanted to do computer stuff. I didn't understand, why I have to, you know, I never wanted to be a programmer. So I never really like high end math. I got high enough in math that, I can do whatever I need to do. But, I never went into statistics or, analytics or anything like that. And I could never figure out like why I was going through all this school to do work that I already knew how to do. And I actually got a contract job at Microsoft when I was still 18. I was just turning 19. And I've been, there on and off ever since as a contractor and as an FTE. So, um, this is one of those things where if you want to learn, I see a lot of people that are like, oh, how do you get into this? How do you do it? You know what? If you want to be a programmer, I hate to say this, you're going to have to do it on your own personal time at home.
Yes.
It's the only way you're going to do it. You need to write programs. You need to really, really, really understand it. And how I actually got my job was the guy asked me, how do you install a network card on NT4? And I was like, you do this and this and this and this and this. And he was like, that's right. Do you want a job? That's how I got, seriously, honest to God, that was how I got the job. That was the question. And I was like, I just did that yesterday. And, that's knowing things off the top of your head is how you get hired. I do hiring at work. And if I ask somebody a question I feel is easy, like something that I really think is like a basic, knowledge thing that somebody could have learned themselves watching YouTube videos even. If I ask you what a RAID set is and you don't know what a RAID set is, and you don't know what the RAID sets are and what they do, you're going to flunk out of my interview 5 seconds into it. And that's just how it is. I do enterprise stuff, and if you don't even understand the very basics of enterprise hardware, you're of no use to me. And I'm just going to be like, next person, get out of here. So if you guys want jobs, you need to understand what the requirements of those jobs are. So say you want to be, a programmer, right? You need to understand what languages are actually in demand. So C and C++ are always the best place to start because they're the basis for a million languages. But, C#, if it's just basic C# programming, there's not that many jobs out there for that anymore. Now, if it's like really involved managed code, and it's not just C#, like you're doing managed code and you're really good at using like the .NET APIs and things like that, and know them, you're going to get a job, right? So you have to understand like hardware. Why did I get a job being able to do hardware and do the things I like? Because when I don't understand something, even at work, guys, I mean, this happens every day. We'll find a problem where, it's like, oh, this weird thing is happening in Windows, 2008 R2 all of a sudden, right? And you have to go figure out why it's happening, and you have to research, like, how do we get around this issue where, like, maybe we have some IP conflicts and this weird, like, domain setup, and, how do you work through these things and still have it be reliable, and, like, oh, DNS is doing something funny, and so, like, you have to go read, like, a whole book on the DNS server so that you can understand what the hell it's doing, so that when you write the code, you understand, like, where things go and how we need to talk to stuff. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to learn, if you don't want to sit down and open a book or research things on the web and do them and understand them, get out now. You're never going to cut it because it's just going to get more and more cutthroat. And that's the thing. You have to have drive. If you have drive, you're going to succeed at whatever you try. So the biggest problem that I see with computer, and I've seen Logan and Wendell talk about this a few times too. The biggest thing I have that I see with kids that say, oh, we wanted to get into computer stuff, is that the only thing they do is game. If that's your total exposure to computers, it's not going to cut it. You have to know how to program. You have to know hardware and hardware APIs and, designing, network schemes and setting up, domains and, troubleshooting issues and complex, topologies, stuff like that. If you don't know that stuff in this day and age, you're not going to get a job. You might get lucky and get like a testing position if you're lucky, and that's how some people get in. But if you it's like people that want to be lawyers. This is the example I use because, to some extent, really high-end software developers get paid about the same thing as lawyers. So if you go to school for 7 years or 6 years and have to pass a bar exam, right, and you have to know, the majority of basic law, and then you specialize in something, but even then, you're always going to be researching things, right? You're always going to have cases where you need to go look up, precedents and, former judgments and why did the judge, make a judgment this way in this case, but this other judge made a judgment this other way in a different case, and they're both, related to the same thing. Those people are driven. Doctors, right? I mean, God, you go to school for like 8 freaking years and then have to do like a 4-year residency just to be a doctor, right? Why do they do it? I guarantee you a lot of them, it's not for the money. It's because they love what they want to do and they're driven. If you have that personality and you want to be a software developer or a hardware engineer, you're going to make it happen, right? You're going to find ways to make it happen. If you just want it to be easy and handed to you, it's not going to happen. You're just going to be one of these kids that works for me for 3 months and then I let go because, you're not committed to doing the things and memorizing the things I need you to memorize. So I told you, I am just like totally rant 30 this week. I don't know, what do you think about this? Because I know you live in an area that's kind of hard for tech jobs once in a while, but, what from your side of the street, what do you think about all this?
I completely agree. I mean, on a much smaller level, the same thing happened to me. You know, I got a job right out of high school for a school district as a computer technician, essentially because I went out of my way to not only take like, every class available and study on my own time, but I also volunteered at many of the schools fixing their computers. So I already had the connections, I had the experience, I had the know-how, and when I went in for the interview, they asked me all the same kind of questions, and I was like, just like you said, I just did that yesterday, you know, and it's just one of those things where you have to put in the work before you can expect to be given anything.
Okay, here's a good question. As far as I've seen so far, that they don't actually uh, mean anything. So Sam asks, and this is kimchi and chicken. You can see I chat with him every once in a while. If you guys had to choose between the two, what would it be? Civilization Beyond Earth or Star Citizen? So as far as I understood from the minimal amount I read about Beyond Earth, is that it's still just a Civ 5 style game.
Right.
So if I had to choose between the two, I would say, oh hell no, I'm just playing them both, because I'm like seriously, I'm probably have 200 hours into Civ 5, if not more. I freaking love that game because you can be doing something and then just be like, walk away, and then come back, and it's like, oh yeah, look, it's turn based. It's still exactly where I left it. So um, I will be playing Star Citizen for damn sure because I am the hugest Wing Commander fan. Like I played Wing Commander 2 and 3 for a gajillion hours. Like the SNES one, which I think was Wing Commander 2. I played that through so many times. Like so many times. So yeah, the graphics will be way 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 better, and it'll be an MMO. Yeah, my kids may not see me for a while when that thing comes out, but I don't know. What do you think?
So, Civilization for sure. I mean, I love Sim games. There's not much they can really change to make them really stand out. And then putting it in the featured in space just kind of blows my mind because I've always seen it as kind of a far past kind of genre, and I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. I haven't seen too much about Star Citizen. I haven't heard about it until I read up on it just now when you told me the name.
Dude, what rock have you been under?
I haven't heard anything.
Hello, the largest crowd-funded game in history.
I will
Yeah.
definitely be watching the trailer before, right
Yes,
after
yes,
we
here
hang
we go.
out.
Let's see.
You forget that I've been sick in bed like most days.
Oh, most days. Oh, that's funny. So, surfing with Timmy. This Star Citizen has been out for. They crowdfunded it over a year ago. So obviously you need to watch more
Oh
minus 10
yeah.
tips. But yeah, so Star Citizen, $41 million, and it's
Wow.
not even done yet, right? Because they're not going to release this until probably next year. I mean, they've been releasing little, like you can go in the hangar right now, and then dogfighting is supposed to be out soon. But yeah, so see, '06, they've been crowdfunding it since 2006.
Wow.
So it really blew up. Uh, oh, this is the dates. Never mind. I'm totally silly. Wow, they made $107,000. This is this week. $107,000. That's not bad. Let's see this month. How are we doing this month? Oh, only $7 million this month. Lazy bastards. That's funny. But yeah, so I mean, I obviously uh, am signed up. I bought a ship. I reserve your alpha slot, buy a ship. So I bought this one because I'm ridiculous. Wait, this one? This one, yeah. So I bought this one because I'm ridiculous. So
Jesus.
I have a tracker. You can buy them for the ships as cheap as $30. So that's you get the game and this ship, and it's a single player game and the MMO. So But I tend to be a guy that sits back and likes to play more of a support role, but not a healer role. Like I like being like the supplemental, damage. So always played warlocks in World of Warcraft, and this is like when you're doing raids, the tracker is kind of the guy that goes in with the main force who has like the super radar. So I will of course be like the first person they all try to probably kill. So we'll see. But it's pretty cool. So it's really you're made to be able to scan further than anybody else, but it also makes a really good mercenary ship because you can see so much further away than everybody else. So, and when I bought it, I don't know that it was that price. I'll be honest with you. But there's some cool ships, and there's more ships coming out too. I know a bunch of people that bought the big boy ships. Let's see here. Where are the expensive ones? I know you're like, what? Oh, there we go. The Constellation. So I know a bunch of people that bought this, which you can actually hold. I think it has like 3 people in it. So they can either be AI or people that you're playing with. So that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, there's the Freelancer. This is the newest one. So one of the newest ones, Freelancer Plus. So, but the Constellation is the big boy right now. But apparently, there's more ships coming, and when the game comes out, you'll be able to buy, work in game to buy them. So you don't have to buy, like this ship, the $150 to $5 package. You can buy the $30 package and then do a bunch of work in the game to be able to buy other ships. So, I think the idea with the tiered packages is, you're paying for a ship that's different than everybody else, hopefully for the most part, but you're also you're diversifying the universe early because you're gonna have a whole bunch of people that have very different ships instead of everybody starting out with an Aurora. So that should make the gameplay, I think, will be interesting when we get to that point. But yeah, check that out when it comes out for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It looks interesting.
It'll be interesting.
I'm not sure I'll buy a $200 ship, but
Yeah, $30.
yeah.
And you can play it on your awesome laptop.
Yes.
Did I ever play in the Modern Warfare 4 leagues? No. I was never so Twitch gaming, Twitch style, so FPSs. I am good enough to be right in the middle every time. So like if I play BF4 and there's 20 people, I will be like 10th or 8th, between like 12th and 8th spot every time. And I tend to always have the same number of kills as deaths, which to me means you're just like a mediocre at best player. So yes, I tend to not play a lot of those kind of games just because I don't, I'd rather play strategy games where I have to think more than FPSs where it's just like who has the better reaction time, and twitch control of a mouse, because I don't find that fun. So I don't know, what kind of games do you like?
Well, I used to be really big into first-person shooters as well, Counter-Strike, 1.6, all that stuff. And when the Modern Warfares and stuff started coming out, I wanted to get back on the computer and start getting back into it, but everyone I knew and wanted to play with was buying it for consoles. So I ended up giving in and buying it for 360, and I just never got like used to using a controller, and I was never that great at it, so I just did it casually for fun. Now I'm just more into strategy games and racing games. Racing games are like my big thing.
Yeah, Barnacles, aka Jerry, has that huge race simulator. If you guys haven't checked him out, at Barnacles, and it's like Barnacle and Hercules. Almost to 90,000. So you guys, if you're not subscribed to him, go check out my channel. He's linked in my main page. You should subscribe. He does some really funny shit. Also very, very into the 3D printing. Way, 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 way more than I am, and he's actually the reason I bought one. But he also has just a crazy uh, driving sim. Like he has the racing chair, and like he has three 46-inch monitors, and so it's a pretty crazy setup. And it's funny to watch him right now because he's out of practice and he sucks again. So watch the last video he did, and it was like crash, 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 crash. So it's hard when you don't have. I mean, like he has a Subaru STI, and I used to. And when you race those cars, when you race cars, you actually have feel, and you have like resistance feel, and it's really like I've never used a sim, because you don't get that, you some of the, when you turn, especially in a rally car, you're feeling the slide, but you're feeling it, like with the lateral G forces, and you can feel like which tires have grip and which don't, and if the back end's coming out. And it's very hard to feel that in a simulator. So, like, I'm a much better driver in real life than I am in a sim. I'm really, really bad in a sim because I want it to be like real driving, and it's obviously not.
Right.
So I don't know. How are you? What's your favorite racing game?
I love the Dirt series. In terms of consoles, I like Gran Turismo. That series has always been one of my favorites. But on PC, I'd have to say Dirt 2, maybe. But I even enjoyed the newer ones that everyone else hated, like Showdown and Dirt 3.
Let's see. What other questions? Remember, guys, questions at TimmyTechTV, at Mike the Tech, if you want to throw them up there. Games. Oh, suck it. Yeah. So, okay, if you haven't seen it, let me see. Let me go to my YouTube page here. This is yet again browsing with Timmy. We had 8 articles, and we have 2 left. I suppose we should probably get to, but I was gonna say we kind of blew through the first 6, so we're kind of in after time already. So I actually kind of have been getting bored with tech reviews and stuff like that, and I've been trying to do like funny things, or I actually was, when I was in college, I was actually in college for music. So I wouldn't say I'm a good trumpet player, but I used to be okay, and I'm an okay singer. But I'm a bass, so when I sing, I'm even lower than when I talk. And I'm always a good, like in a chorus, I'm a really good supporting voice for everything else. But as a soloist, I'm not that great, because I tend to, bass singers are not good soloists. It's just, no matter who it is, if you can't sing up into the baritone to the lower tenor ranges, then your voice just really doesn't support it, and you tend to lose. People that sing in a vocal range of tenor have more low end in their tenor voice than like I have in my tenor voice, because I'm really going out of my vocal range. So you start to go up into your falsetto, like even when I'm in lower tenor ranges, and you lose a lot of low end. So it sounds kind of like crap. But I did a video.
I'll say one thing.
Stop. Sorry. Hopefully none of you could hear that. But
I saw the video beforehand, and I will say it's an interesting song choice for me to bass.
Yeah, well, I sung it an octave lower than what she sings it in, but so yeah, so if you guys haven't seen it, it's Still Offline, an internet service provider parody song. So basically, I just took Still Alive from Portal and changed all the lyrics. So it's basically about how Comcast and Time Warner screw us all.
It's great, by the way.
Yes, I could have recorded it better, but it was just, I was just recording it at my desk here, so and I was using OBS, so I wasn't even using like audio recording software, guys. So everybody was like, "Whoa, it didn't really sound that good." Yeah, that was direct feed from the mic into OBS, so no processing at all. Which I might actually do a version where I play with autocorrect and see if I can't make it sound a little like GLaDOS or like one of the turrets, because that would be kind of funny. But I might do a music video. I don't know. It depends on what people think. So far, the feedback has been pretty good, so I might do like a funny little music video and and re-record it. But that's just the kind of stuff like you do because you can.
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Wait, what? It's always so funny, like the how can I stop procrastination? Here we go. Okay, back to another question. Sorry, guys, if it seems a little crazy, Twitter is not a good way to ask and answer questions. So I'm gonna have to. I actually emailed Google while we've been chatting here and said, like, how the hell do I get the Q&A thing if I start the thing from YouTube? So we'll see. They'll probably be like 10,000 subs go away, you peon. Um, but yeah, so how can I stop procrastination? Yes, I know it's a stupid question, but I need a lot of help with this. So I am the most massive procrastinator on the face of the planet. And what I have found is I do not procrastinate on the things I actually like to do. So if it's like building a PC or making YouTube videos or going to work, I don't procrastinate because it's stuff I like to do. It's the stuff that I don't like to do that I am a massive procrastinator at. So if there's something at work that I really, 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 really don't want to do, uh, it's like I'm like a 2-year-old, pretty much. Like you just can't get me to do it. It's like no, no, no. Um, and that's just the way I am because I procrastinate. If you're to the point where it's like you would just rather play video games than let's use video games because this tends to be something that a lot of people do, or watch TV, then you need to get rid of it. If it's a drug at that point, if it's something that's causing a degradation in the quality of life for you and your ability to get things done, then you need to stop it. So like, I'll be completely honest with you guys. World of Warcraft, like the first, I don't know, 3 expansions, it was every night. I raided like 4 times a week. I put in, 30 or 40 hours a week. Um, I would rather play than go out to dinner with, my then girlfriend, who's now thankfully my wife. Um, so when we had kids, I couldn't get away with it anymore. I had to decide, what was more important, being, having a family and being there for my wife and my kids, or playing a stupid video game. And, the answer was my wife and kids. And so I stopped playing. And in fact, I talk about games a lot. I played Goat Sim for 30 minutes the other night. And that's all I've gamed in the last month. Oh, yeah, and the Sub-Zero thing. I played about an hour of that just to check it out and see what I thought about the Amazon Fire. So an hour and a half of gaming in 30 days. I almost don't even watch TV anymore either. I watch some YouTube, but if you have things that are causing you to procrastinate because you would rather do them, and they're things that aren't going to help you in life, like watching TV or eating, or this tends to be my problem, fatso over here, or video games or whatever, talking on the phone, like who knows. If you have stuff that isn't healthy and you need to, work on the things that are healthy, like, having a good job is, play video games all you want, when you're dead, right? I mean, do the work now to be able to have a good quality of life, and, I don't know. I mean, if you took somebody from, everybody asks why people from like, because in the tech industry, like Russia, India, China, a lot of techs, right? A lot of people come to the U.S. To do work, and it's not because they get paid any less. They get paid the same as everybody else. It's because they have the drive, and they've had the shitty quality of life in most cases, that they have the desire to put everything else aside to get what they want. And I think that's the point, is if you're complacent, if you're too comfortable, you need to step outside your boundaries and become uncomfortable. If that means you stop using a computer altogether, except when you're like, in a class, or, if you can't be trusted not to play games instead of doing research, then go to the library where you can't install games on a computer, right? Go somewhere you can't do it. where you can only do what you're supposed to be doing. But you have to let go. You have to get rid of those things that are causing you to procrastinate, right? And if you can't, then honestly, that's when you need to start. I mean, like, I don't want to be mean to anybody, but if you can't let go of the things that are causing you not to have a better quality of life, that's when you need to see a psychiatrist. Because at that point, you no longer have control over your life. It's just like a drug, right? I've had friends that have died from a drug addiction, and I don't understand it because I don't have, other than food, I don't really have a super addictive personality. I tend to like bounce from thing to thing. I kind of like have this OCD, ADD thing going. But I don't really like, other than, food, and the way I react to food is like how some people react to drugs. Is like, that's what I get a high off of. I don't get a high off of drinking. I don't get a high off of drugs or smoking. But sugar, I get that. I feel better. Like, I just feel better. And I fight that all the time. But like, I don't like hardcore drug addiction. I just don't understand. Like, my brain can't wrap around being addicted to tobacco like my father was. Because I'm not. I've smoked cigarettes and they just don't do anything for me. And like, I just don't understand. And just like, people that are alcoholics, if you are an alcoholic, you understand. And if you're not, you don't. Because you're not and you don't. So video games are the same way. It's just another addiction, and it's just not a chemical addiction. But at some level it is, because you're getting some kind of endorphin rush, some kind of pleasure from doing that activity, and that's what you're getting your kick off of. So I would say, if you can't set it aside, if you can't just be like, I'm not going to game, basically just go like, okay, I'm not going to game for a month, period. Nothing. Not your phone, not your TV, Xbox, not the computer, nothing. A board game, that's it. If you can't do that, then you really do need to seek help. And this is, I think, going to become more and more of a problem for kids growing up, because they have much more much better access to digital entertainment, to where it's just, that tends to be the procrastination, is the digital entertainment. So like I said, I'm the world's largest procrastinator, and my wife will tell you, especially doing things around the house, if I don't know how to do it. See, this is when I tend to procrastinate. It's not when I really don't want to do something. It's when I really don't, like, I don't know how to do something, and I'm worried about breaking something and it being a cost issue. So like my water cooling build right now, I'm sure everybody's like, Jesus Christ, he's been working on it for 6 months. Yes, I have. And it's because I am like scared to, well, first of all, I'm so OCD that I don't have it the way I want it yet, but I'm so scared to death to F up my video cards when I water cool them that I'm like, it's sitting on my workbench. But, so I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
Um, I think it was very informative and slightly like harsh. Well, not harsh, but like deep and dark a little bit. But really informative and useful information. On the opposite end of it is, once you have gotten those distractions out, if it is more mental than anything else, I've found that doing something or accomplishing something, even if it's very small, will kind of get you in the groove of not being so lethargic, And like, if you have to build a computer or something and you don't want to do it, you're like, I don't have time, I'm lazy, I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV. Go, fill up the dishwasher and do a load of dishes or something, and be like, all right, well, that's done. Now what else can I do? And get a couple things done. You'll feel a little bit more pumped up. You'll feel in the mood to do things and get work done. And it's a lot easier, for me at least, to start accomplishing things at home.
Yes, positive mental attitude is also very important.
Yeah.
So, question from Sam yet again. PAX South was announced yesterday at PAX East. What do I think about this? I think it's crap, because it's more people that won't come to PAX Prime. So, and PAX Prime's in Seattle, and that's where I live. We already, honestly, PAX Prime has kind of become PAX irrelevant, because it's right after E3, and nobody comes anymore. I mean, like some people do, but like PAX East gets way more hardware interaction and game interaction than PAX Prime does for some reason anymore. And PAX South is just going to make that even worse. So I get there's a need for it, but it's great for people in the South because now they don't have to go to, Boston or Seattle if they want to go to PAX. But at the same time, when are they going to put it in the year? Is it going to take away from other things? Is it going to mean less people come to PAX Prime? Which bothers me because it's the one I don't have to go anywhere to go to. I don't know. I think it's cool that they're branching out. At the same time, I hope they don't overextend themselves. And, they're from this area, so hopefully PAX Prime will always be the big boy. But I really wish they would move PAX Prime to this weekend instead of Labor Day weekend. I know why they do it Labor Day weekend, because you get 4 days of PAX Prime, and you get PAX Dev the 3 days before that. So you get a whole week of PAX, technically. But the weird thing is they announced PAX South, and historically, the first day of PAX East, they've always announced PAX Prime. So, I don't know. I'm scared that they're going to do something silly with PAX Prime, which, I don't know, is what it is. So, you ever been to a PAX? You are so muted.
I said no, I haven't. I just seriously don't really care where they branch out to because I get all of my show videos and information from YouTube. So the more events they have, the more I get to watch. So to me, it's the opposite.
I don't know, though. The more events they have, the more, like, Linus Tech Tip videos we want to wind up with. That's the one thing. So this is a good question, everybody, because I am going to go to, obviously, PAX Prime again this year because it's, like, seriously 1.5 miles from my house. And I will be going to CES in the winter, I guess. I don't know, right after the New Year's. That's always, like, the first week of January. So, one problem I have is you have, a lot of tech shows that go. When you get sponsored, like say, I don't know, Asus sponsored me to go to CES. Well, when they sponsor you, they're expecting a certain number of videos with a certain number of views to make whatever their investment is worthwhile for them. And obviously that's totally okay because it's their money. What it does make it hard, though, is I feel like sometimes that everybody covers the same things, and then you have this, like, large non-caring. Like, CES is the great one, where it's like, hey, here's some awesome videos, and they have, like, no views because every other tech channel is making the exact same video. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Hit me up on Twitter at TimmyTechTV. What do you guys think about, the show coverage? Because, like, my opinion, when I do PAX Prime this year, my main focus is going to be indie game developers and doing interviews with the indie game developers. One, because, screw you guys, but I like to do it and I like talking to the developers. And this is a hobby for me, so I do care what you think, but I don't care what you think. But CES especially, I think I'm just going to go, to be honest with you. I might produce, 1 or 2 videos a day, maybe. Like a wrap-up video of all the cool stuff we saw, with kind of like an overview. And just kind of, talk it through and throw up some clips and stuff. But, what do you guys think? I know, I watched the Linus. I watched, the only one channel I really watch anymore just because of time is Tech Syndicate. And, even they, who don't do that many videos a day when they go to events, still get lots of, negative comments about, like, oh, it's like 3 videos today, geez. But, if you're covering a 3-day event, you need to make 20 videos, you're going to get 3 videos a day. Or 4, or 5. Going to be in East Texas somewhere. Yeah, I still don't care. To be honest with you, if they're smart, they put it in Austin for PAX South, but we'll see what they do. And you already have South by Southwest, you greedy bastards. So we'll move south, north by Northwest, start up my own. So yeah, so I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think, Mike? You tend to be more of a consumer than a creator. What do you feel about that kind of
Well, I
stuff?
think in terms of uh, the market for videos for CES and PAX and things like that, you're right. For a creator, it's very saturated and almost not worth it to make videos. But for a consumer, it's almost expected. Like if I were to hear about the new top smartphone that I know is at CES, I'm going to go to the people that I enjoy watching. I want to check your channel first and say, hey, I like watching Tim. What does he have to say about it? Or I want to find out about it from him. And that means less views for you because other people might want to go to their favorite tech creator. So as a whole, it's just a really saturated market that the creators don't really get much help on. But for the consumer, they get to hear about it from whatever source they prefer.
That's right. Sorry, Austin Evans just tweeted out. It's like, just saw a guy take a gallon of milk as his carry-on on my flight. Here's someone who has life figured out. What I want to know is what TSA agent was asleep on the job in that one. I'm pretty sure milk's a liquid. So that's really funny. I don't know, Twitter. So social media. There's a lot of social media out now, and I tend to use Twitter the most. And like obviously I'm on Pinterest. Like I'm growing about 20, 25 subs a day right now, which is horrible, but nowhere where I want to be. But where do you engage with people? Like I tend to just be Twitter. I don't even tend to be anything else. Like I post my videos other places, but
I'm the same way. I'll respond to comments on YouTube, but it's mostly Twitter and then closer friends on Facebook.
yeah, I actually stopped using Facebook. I still have like my family, so that when I post pictures of my kids, my family can see the pictures of the kids. But like even like all my old high school friends and stuff, I just like unfriended them, and I'm like, follow me on Twitter. Like, if you want to talk to me, follow me on Twitter. If not, you're just like, I haven't talked to you on Facebook for 3 years then, because like if you want to talk to me, you'll follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Twitter. And that's what I tend to be. I'll just
Yeah,
call people. I don't
I'm
know.
not quite to that point yet. I still have some friends that are only on Facebook or only on Twitter, so I try to keep on both.
Yeah, my usual theory is if I'm your friend and we're doing stuff, you have my phone number and you can just call me. So social media, not that important.
If you have a phone.
Well, yes, that's why I work. So yes, I mean that's another like uh, somebody mentioned like if I was up in Seattle, I'd put in my job application right now. Yes, you do need to live somewhere where there's a demand for what you're trying to do. So if there's too much demand or too much supply and not enough demand, sometimes you have to move. And that's where I was like talking about, taking a risk. So I'm lucky that the only risk I had to take was moving out of my parents' house. Had it horribly, horribly fallen through, I could have moved back into my parents' house. So not the biggest risk ever. But I have friends that worked at Microsoft and just left Microsoft to go work at like Humble Bundle and just moved to San Francisco, like just cause. And it's just like I don't know that I could do that. So, but yeah, so PAX East, very jealous, of course, that everybody's back there having fun, going to parties and stuff. Um, yeah, CES in Vegas, God help me. I've been to Vegas enough times that I know better, so I probably won't do any of the after parties. Like I'll probably pick one. I'll do one after party, like toward the end. But yeah, that's what like you see a bunch of people that were like, "Oh man, I'm so hungover today." So, indie games, yes, indie games. People love the indie games. Okay. Anything else? Let's see. What else? We wrap her up here. In Puerto Rico, I don't think we have tech conventions. I don't. You might. Texas isn't. Wait. Okay, I was gonna say Texas isn't too far away, but yeah, it is. Florida's not too far away. I bet they have tech conventions there. Um, let's see. Any last questions here before we sign off? Nothing that I see. Like I said, guys, hopefully Google will have the Q&A stuff figured out so that I can start videos where I want to start them, so that I can see the views, so that they show up as YouTube videos the right way. And this is one of those things, like, I swear to God, if there was a competitor to YouTube, YouTube would be so screwed. Or if Google hadn't bought YouTube, YouTube would be so screwed.
Sure.
So yeah, so that's about it. Any last things you want to cover?
I think we're good for today. Being sick reminds me of it too cloudy to come up with any interesting banter, at least.
Let's see here. I'm trying to see. I don't see anything interesting. So guys, check out Mike at Mike the Tech on Twitter, at some crazy YouTube channel, but also at MikeTheTech.com. As always, you can hit me up at TimmyTechTV on Twitter, or pretty much TimmyTechTV anywhere, Tumblr, Pinterest, God knows what other social network, TimmyTechTV.com. And as always, YouTube.com/TimmyTechTV. Please go subscribe if you're new to the channel and sat through an hour and 30-some minutes of me ranting about things. That's God's sign that you should obviously sign up to be a subscriber of mine. Or the devil's sign that you sat through an hour and a half of me. I don't know. The only reason I bring this up is because I keep scrolling past. Okay, so here we're in the after show now. So I have to show this because I keep laughing every time I scroll past this on Twitter. So it's the Catholic Charities USA. Now, I consider myself Christian, but at the same time, I'm very, 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 very non-practicing. However, and I will show how non-Christian I am, I think the Pope is a badass. That's just my personal opinion. Like, but guy rolls, man. Like, some of this cool stuff he's done is like, this is where the Catholic Church was very scared to make Franciscan the Pope, and he was actually almost the Pope when Benedict, apparently, the rumor is. And I'm not Catholic, and I have Catholic friends, but that's about it. But you're also talking about, one of the largest religions on earth, and the guy's just kind of a badass. And so, like, while I keep laughing every time I go past it, just because, like, I have no idea how this adds in my feed. Like, do you look at the words I use in my feed? How many swear words per tweet do I have? It just, like, every time I see a picture of him, I just think of, like, what kind of badass mofo this guy is. And, he's so humble, and just like, it's just like, I'm just, like, he obviously knows that, like, he's in the service of others, and just, like, I don't care what other, like, you get this very vibe of, like, he's just like, I don't care what other people think, I'm going to help people. And that's, something, unfortunately, going away in this culture. But that's why, like I said, not Catholic, very much respect the new Pope. So, and hopefully he keeps doing cool things for people in areas that need help. Especially, like, South America. Because God knows. Like, Brazil. Have you been to Brazil?
Have I been to Brazil?
I'm just being funny because AMD... See, I have a way of getting to everything. AMD Fan Fest is this weekend in Brazil. Or next week. I don't know. Now. Something like that. But, like... they were... The Olympics and the World Cup are going to be down there. And it's like, they were saying, like, like the deaths per capita is just ridiculous. And, like, people stealing kidneys, and I don't know. It's just a bad place right now.
So let's all host a party there.
Yeah, I know. Who did they bribe to get the Olympics and the World Cup? It's interesting. But yeah. I know South America's always been one of those things where it's like, it's not that far away from where you live. It's like very South America is further away, but it's, they're kind of over in the Western Hemisphere with us, and it's just interesting, like, how different it is than, like, North America, right? I mean, because there's climate there somewhere that's the same as the climate in the North America. It's just there's much less land. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Argentina's cool. I don't know. I've never been down there. For the south, I've been as Puerto Vallarta, so I'm not exactly the globe trotter. Europe. I've been to Europe. What do you want from me, people? Which, by the way, if Lauren ever watches my archives, Lauren, you have to come to the U.S. to come to like PAX or CES or something. If you guys don't know who Lauren is, Tasty PC, check her out. She doesn't do very many videos, but the videos she does are very good. And she's a cutie. So, yeah.
Sure.
You watch Lauren at all?
Not too much. I just recently followed her when I started seeing you talk to her more.
Oh, yes. So it's funny. Yeah, it's funny because uh, just like the people that follow each other, it's definitely, like people keep asking. We'll close on this topic in 5 minutes. We'll do an hour and 45 minutes. So people keep asking, like, well, how did you get to know Logan, and how did you get to know Linus, and how do you get to know these people? Well, the first thing is just be very nice and help, because if somebody, like, so seriously, if somebody, and now that I say this, I'm not going to actually let anybody do this, but if somebody came to me and said, like, hey, I want to write, some articles for your website, and I just want to do it because I want to help TimmyTechTV. Obviously, I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to, like, if you're a good writer, you're going to write articles for me, and then other people are going to see them, and then, maybe you talk to some other channel and be like, hey, I'd love, like, I'm writing articles for TimmyTechTV. You mind if I, help you out doing something? Like I could write a script for something for you, or, just like, what can I do to help? Do you have, like, any minutia things that you need help with? And that's actually how, like, I first started working with Linus. Was I was building a new PC, and so I was like, what are these things? What are these unboxing things? Like, and you couldn't find, it's the market is getting very saturated now with tech reviews because it's become a thing. But even just 2 years ago, you couldn't, like, I want to find some review on a motherboard. Forget about it. Like, please, for the love of God, hope that either Linus or Newegg, so NCIX or Newegg, for the love of God, just hope that one of them did a review of it, because every other channel is just garbage. Um, so I actually started, like, hey, this Linus guy, he's kind of cool, and he was still working for NCIX back then. And so I just, like, sent him a mail, and he was still, I think when I started talking to him, he was still around 100,000, just broke 100,000 subs. So, I was like, hey, what can I do to help? Like, is there anything you need? Like, obviously, if there's not, no, no problem, no harm, no foul. And he actually needed some help with some Microsoft stuff. And, since I worked there, I could get him some help with the appropriate channels, and just kind of went from there. So, and then I just know Logan because I'm a persistent bastard, I guess. And luckily got to meet him at PAX Prime last year. And the first time I've ever met somebody that I can throw, like, every metal band I listen to at, and he's like, yep, no, I don't like them because of they have too much of this in their music, and oh no, yeah, I used to listen to them, or now I'm really into these guys now instead. And it was just like, foiled, all of my metal bands foiled. Um, and of course, Kane is like, I tend to get along with the personalities tend to be, even I'm starting to get this way, to be honest with you. When people talk to you, you tend to be like, what's their motive, right? So you always have to be aware, right? Like, what's, sure, you want to help, but what's your motive, right? Are you doing it because you really want to help, or are you trying to get ahead, or are you trying to get me to mention your channel, or what's your motive, right? The guys I tend to like hanging out with are the support crew, right? So, like, Brandon and Slick and Edsel and Kane, the guys that are kind of a little more behind the scenes that help, because that's where I've always been more comfortable. And I think that's why, I can make inroads with these channels is, well, first of all, I'm, like, at Microsoft, I've owned OEM contracts before. So I tend to deal with really big budgets, and I have OEM vendor connections up the wazoo, which is why you never see server hardware for my channel because I'd be too close to a conflict of interest, to be honest with you. I even asked the HP network card I did, because it's a server card. I actually had to send a mail to legal at Microsoft and make sure that I buy that card for work. So if I review it for the channel, do I have a conflict of interest? So luckily, no, apparently, because it's a badass card anyways. But so stuff like that, that's where it's hard for me, right? Like Linus and Logan and those guys, they have consumer contacts, and I don't. I have all server contacts, right? Like I know all the HP and Dell and IBM, Lenovo, EMC, all those guys. I know all of their back end guys, and I can't do anything with it because that's what I do for work. So I can't, I walk this very fine line of, what I can say and do and what I can't say and do. And that was actually, I remember really early on, Linus, I had like 500 subs, and Linus goes, "You're never going to get big because you have to be careful what you say." I'm like, yes, I understand. I can't really review Microsoft things. I can't really, I have to be very careful when I talk about, Microsoft stuff. I actually really, you guys may not think it, but I have to just give you a behind the scenes, and I know, Barnacules has to deal with this too. Anything we say about Microsoft, we have to have a third-party reference. So I have to read it off of like ZDNet, and then I have to cite ZDNet, and then I have to not put any personal opinions behind it. So that makes it hard. Now, granted, I'm a Microsoft fanboy anyway, so don't get me wrong. Like, I bitch to high heaven about my Xbox One, but I still love the thing, right? There's just things that are like, God, I wish it was just a little bit better. And integration has always been everybody's problem, right? I mean, even, Google and Apple and everybody, integration between devices and technology is the hard thing to master, because you have these very diverse teams inside of a company working on things, and somehow you have to get them all to play nice together. And that's hard, because you have lots of people. And I don't know. I mean, that's so, if you want to help channels, if you want to, how do I get, like a good example, the Follow Fridays, guys. So if there's people in my Follow Fridays, it's either because they're people I talk to on Twitter and I like talking to. So they're nice, they have good comments, they're just themselves. They're not trying to get me to, like, do a Follow Friday or, retweet one of their tweets or something like that. Or, they're helping with the website, or they want to help with videos or whatever, right? That's how you help channels. And if you aren't comfortable with that, a great way to get started, and I'm sure I've said this before, is go up to the forums and answer questions honestly and without bias. So if you can go up and say, somebody says, "Hey, what's better, an Intel i5 or a AMD 8350?" If you can do, like, here's the pros and cons of an i5, and here's the pros and cons of an AMD 8350, and here's why I would choose one of the two, like, these are the things I look at that are pertinent to me, and then say, but you need to decide for yourself what is important to you of the things that are listed up above. Mods are going to see that. Other people on the forums are going to see that. And it's not just like, oh, you should buy the Intel because it's Intel, and then you get this, like, Intel AMD fanboy fight, right? I guarantee you the fastest people that we as content creators tune out are the fanboys. So if you're like, oh, you should, like, I did an AMD 250, R7 250 video, and, like, half the people are like, you're right, that's a great card for the scenarios that you laid out, and, when you get outside of those scenarios, it's not that great, right? And I would buy XYZ card because, it makes more sense. Those were the good answers. The bad answers were like, well, why wouldn't you just buy a 750 Ti, you dummy? And it's just like, you guys are missing the point, right? It's like, that's a $100 card versus a $150 card, and in the video I laid out the reasons why you would buy the $100 card. And it's just like if those are your kind of answers, then the second any of us see that as content creators, we're just like, yeah, like I've seen like I've seen 3 comments from that guy, and trust me, when you see enough negative comments from somebody, you know who they are. So don't think just because Tech Syndicate or Linus have hundreds of thousands of subs, if you're annoying and you're always negative, I guarantee they know who you are and avoid you. Simple as that. Because I do it, and I only have 10,000 subs. So one last thing before I let Mike sign us off here for good. If you swear on my YouTube contents or on my Twitter channel, you will immediately be blocked. So I have the ability to swear in my live stream. I try not to do it in the videos. I will not put up for it inside of my comments. So if you do it, you'll be blocked. I don't care if I lose a sub. Show respect to each other. If you're a jackass, I don't care if I have 5 subs. If they're all, helpful, nice people, I'd rather have that than 10,000 subs any day. So if you can't be respectful, if you can't show, proper courtesy to people, get the crap off my channel. And I've been blocking people like crazy like the last week or two, just because like the amount of, I don't know if it's like spring break's been going on. Mike, maybe you have some insights into this actually before we sign off. I really feel like the last 2 weeks, and I know spring break's been going on in the Seattle area, that all of a sudden the maturity level of like the user comments has gone like to Pura levels. I don't know, do you see anything? I mean, you tend to watch more stuff than I do, but
Honestly, that could be it. I actually thought it would be the opposite. Like during spring break, we'd have less views and less interaction on YouTube just because everyone's out doing their own thing. But it lines up perfectly with spring break.
Yep. So why don't you one more time say who you are and what you do, and then I'll get us on out of here.
All right, my name is Mike the Tech, and you can see my YouTube channel at MikeTheTech.com. And I won't say my actual YouTube address because Tim hates it, so I'll just leave you with that. And of course, TimmyTechTV.
This is Tim for TimmyTechTV Live. See you guys next time.
See ya.